According to Quran, it is the added value to the mankind's journey on the blue planet that matters eventually. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. Now we turn to Dr. Mohammed Shomani, who is from Iran, but he has a double role, one in Iran and one in England. He's the director of the International Institute for Islamic Studies in Qom, and he's the director of the Islamic Centre of England, London. So, you have much to share with us.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salamun alaikum, peace be with you. First, I should thank God Almighty for giving me this opportunity to celebrate together with our brothers in PISAI their 50th anniversary of functioning in Rome. And as I said, in our meeting in October, we look at PISAI as a Muslim house in Vatican. So we very much feel that we belong to PISAI. Thank you. What I'm going to share with you is a little bit about my life experience, and then about the way I have tried to shift and convey my experiences to some ladies and gentlemen in the seminary of Qom. And the third is the stage where I am trying to philosophize and come up with a theology that would help to achieve what I think would be the conclusion of my life so far. So, to make the story very short, I should say that I was born in Tehran, and for my secondary and high school, I was in a school which was for talented students, and normally talented students, they don't go to seminary, unfortunately, except people who have family links or, somehow they know. So in our school, most of the people, were going either to pure science or medicine and so on and so forth. But only me and another friend, we decided to go to seminary. And the reason was that I had lots of questions in my mind about God. I used to, spend all my pocket money buying books about the existence of God. And since I found no one convincing me in Tehran around me, so I said, I should go myself to the seminary of Qom, where is the center for learning. So when I was just 17, I made a very important decision, and that was to move to Qom. And I had to convince my parents, I had to convince my teachers that I want to go to Qom. So one of the things God helped me when I was in Qom, it was from the beginning I pursued two things. One was the intellectual, philosophical approach to religion, and the other was spirituality. Because at that age, I was convinced that the only way to be able to achieve this peace in the heart is when your mind and heart both are together. So philosophy was for my mind, and spirituality was for my heart. After some years of study in Qom, then I decided to do Western philosophy in Tehran University, and I am very happy that my study in the seminary led me to studying Western philosophy. It was not that it closed my mind. So I did my BA and MA in Western philosophy at Tehran University, and then I went to Manchester to do my PhD in moral philosophy from a, again, Western perspective in Manchester. And then what was very important experience for me was I thought now it's good time for me to make friendship with people of other faiths. The people that we have been learning about them in our courses, but we didn't have that much chance of encounter with them because in Qom there were no Christians at that time. So we used every possible opportunity to meet friends of Christianity, and as I always say, the first people who helped us were the friends from the Focolare movement. They helped us and they paved this way. And then this expanded. And one of the things, I tried was to know more about the places of learning, like seminaries, like, monasteries that make formation of the monks. So one day when I was sitting next to a priest who was also a Benedictine, so I said, is it possible that I see a seminary? And he said that maybe instead we can visit Ampelforth Abbey where monks are trained. So we went together, we slept overnight, and then I visited again and again, sometime with my family. We stayed there for 1 week. And things went on. I don't have, unfortunately, time to mention that, how this led to 6 rounds of Catholic-Shia dialogue so far. And I have here 5 books which are based on the first 5 rounds of dialogue. The last one was in October in Assisi, and hopefully the books will come late. Also, this led to dialogue with Mennonite Christians, with Anglicans, and other people. So this was, for me, a very rich experience that I went through without training, I went through without having any mentor, just my search for truth, and God's help put me into this direction. So when I learned a little bit about this, I tried also to pass on my experience to younger clerics in Qom. So when I went back to Qom in 2001, and I was in the beginning of this process, at the same time I tried to share this experience with younger clerics, and I had 2 positions. One was I had position in the seminary for men. I was head of Department of Religions. And also I was in charge of postgraduate studies of Jami'at al-Zahra, which is for women. So I tried to share this experience with my students and also to involve them in the dialogues that we had. We always try to have some students with us observing this dialogue, not only the scholars. And thanks to God, what happened was we managed with my wife to train some ladies who were fluent in English. We taught them English. They became fluent in English. They studied other religions. Then we took them for visits of Christian community. In 2010, we took them to Lebanon. We spent most of our time with Christian organizations. We were hosted by Nest. Then we visited Holy Spirit, St. Joseph. Then next year we took a group, about 10 people, to Canadian Mennonite University in Winnipeg. Another year we took another group to the same place. Then we took a group to Italy. They were hosted by the Focolare movement. Last year we took a group to Eastern Mennonite University, the US. And now we are, in a matter of few weeks, less than 3 weeks, we are bringing a group of 6 people from Seminary for Women to Lopiano to go further into the depths of the spirituality of the Focolare. So over years now, we have trained about 30 people who have been to different experiences. They have visited many Christian places, and also we have hosted many Christian groups. So I think this was my responsibility to share my experience with my students. We have similar program for men. 6 years ago, International Institute for Islamic Studies was founded by the General Body for Governing the Seminary of Qom. And there also we try to do the same with men. We have now some people who are in Georgetown. We have 2 people in Hartford Seminary. We have people in the UK who are trying to learn Christianity from first-hand experience. So this is the second phase of what I have been doing. And of course, for me, learning is continuing and teaching is continuing. But the third stage that I have embarked on in the last few years is try to come up with some reflections, some theological reflections, to develop a kind of theology that would put all these experiences together. Of course, I am not introducing anything new. I'm not inventing anything. I am just trying to put different pieces of puzzle together. So I'm just thinking and learning. But I think when we implement these things in real life, then maybe we are better able to understand. So, for example, one of the things that I have been doing is to reflect more on the concept of unity of God and how unity of God should be echoed in unity of mankind. Unity of God is not just a very abstract idea that we learn in theological classes, which would not have any impact on life. Unity of God is something that should have impact on my relation with anything that God has created. And it must be definitely echoed in unity of mankind. A failure to be able to have unity with other people shows a failure in understanding monotheism. Or, for example, how we should have a very united community. A community of Muslims, a community of believers in God. I remember that once I was talking with some Christian friends. We had a panel in American Academy of Religion in Atlanta. And I was talking about the need for unity. And a lady came afterwards to me and said, when you talk about unity of Muslims and Christians, we are frightened because you are getting united against us. And I said, no, we are not getting united against anyone. In my understanding, because unity is always a divine gift, it can never be harmful to anyone. We don't get united in order to harm someone. We get united in order to have a joint and common offer of blessings of God to another person. And then I mentioned this example that if we have, for example, a pool and we throw a stone, then there would be circles formed around that stone. These circles grow larger and larger, but then they become weaker and weaker. It means that with the people who are closer to the center, you have a stronger grounds for unity, but when it becomes larger, it becomes less. But it doesn't exclude anyone. It grows and grows and grows. And mathematically, it never dies. Although maybe we cannot see, but it never dies. And you don't want to leave out anyone. So, this concept of unity, I think, has to be developed in many different fronts. And one of the things that I have been thinking, and I want to share here as my last point, is that I think, although we have ability to offer unity, or be welcoming unity which is offered to us by any human being, but I think there is much more between Muslims and Christians. And I think that not only my experience, but also the theological reflection on the Quran. When God says to Jesus, وَجَعْلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Those who follow Jesus, those who believe in Jesus, till the day of the judgment would have upper hand. It means that everyone who believes in Jesus, and I think Muslims and Christians are the people who believe in Jesus and follow him as an example, they, till end of this world, till the day of judgment, would have an upper hand of offering the testimony that God has given them to other people. And also the fact that we believe that in the end of time, Imam Mahdi would come with Jesus together. So this also is a very important side. So I think we Muslims and Christians have great responsibility. With all the respect, I think most of the conversation that we hear, either here or in other platforms, is friendship of Muslims and Christians. We hardly hear about fellowship of Muslims and Christians. I think we have to pass this stage of trying to become friends. We are brothers, real brothers. We shouldn't think that this is a formality or exaggeration. We are real brothers and sisters, and God has given us a joint responsibility that Muslims alone cannot fulfill and Christians alone cannot fulfill. It's only when we are together that we can share the beauty of faith with other people. And I think we have to work towards making this understanding very clear that of course it is my humble understanding, that in God's expectation from us, more important than being Muslims or Christians and Jews is to be submissive to the truth. You can be a Christian who is submissive to truth and be closer to a Muslim who is submissive to truth than a Muslim who is not submissive to truth or a Christian who is not submissive to truth. A Muslim and Christian can be much closer to each other than they are to their fellow Christian brothers and sisters or Muslim, because the main thing is submission to the truth, is humbleness. If there is arrogance, then it may take you totally away from the core of religion, which is humbleness and emptiness from self and ego and being open to the truth. So I think we need to think about this. Thanks to God, I was able to give in the shrine of Lady Ma'suma, which is a very holy place for us, on a series of lectures called Abraham, the founder of Islam. These lectures are also available online in English. And I try to say that we are all followers of Abraham. Our prophet didn't want to form or found a new religion. When prophet came, there were Judaism and Christianity, but I think the prophet preferred to invite everyone back to the tradition of Abraham. He didn't want to create a third religion. He wanted to say, let us go back all to the tradition of Abraham, which is Islam. And I think this is the Quranic call. So my suggestion is that we can keep all our differences, theological differences, very clearly in our mind. We have our distinctive traditions. Everyone is, of course, reflecting more on his or her own tradition. But let us a little bit come out of this shell and focus more on submission to God, submission to truth, getting rid of our ego, and work with the people who have this submission, whether they belong to my school or another school. That's a secondary issue. Thank you very much, and I hope...
Thank you, Dr. Somali. The other two speakers as well. Now, if anyone would like to make a comment or a question. Yes, in the middle here. Is there a microphone anywhere?
Posso fare la domanda in italiano o la faccio in inglese?
English was better. It depends whom you're speaking to. If it's Father Tom Michel, then Italian is fine. Or Bahasa as well.
Well, the three of them. The question would be, what would you suggest, or which kind of hints would you give to those people who have, at a national level, elaborate program of education? For example, I think that people run a ministry, an Italian Ministry of Education. Because I think that being open to the other, to the religion of the other, but to the other in a general sense, this should be something that the children, when they are small children, should learn from the beginning. So what would you suggest to put in a program, in a school program, so that the new citizens would grow up with an open mind? Thank you.
Just two things that come to mind, I think. One is the emphasis on sound information replacing misinformation. And that means, I think, really studying our textbooks again and seeing what is being taught in about other religions. I think that's one key thing we have to do. And secondly is the teachers. I think we need training sessions for the teachers. Teachers themselves, you might have a sound textbook, but the teachers might be giving their own prejudices about another religion. And then I think the third thing is training programs for parents. Parents are the first teachers, and if there's prejudices and misinformation rooted in the students, by the time they get to school, it's already too late to change attitudes.
Anybody else?
Thanks enough.
Another question? Yes. We have someone up there.
Thank you to all the speakers. I have a question of a, I suppose, pedagogical or pastoral nature for Father Michel. I asked my question not as a Christian or Muslim, but as an American Jew. For many years I've been active as a teacher and a congregant in Reform and Reconstructionist settings. At some point I decided to face my ignorance and fear about Christianity, and I was able to go to Union Theological Seminary for 3 years and study Christian theology. And this experience of studying Christian theology was greatly personal, fulfilling, but it did serve, I perceived at least, to alienate me from a more particularistic Jewish identity and community.
It did or did not?
It did. It has, I perceived at least. And I wanted to ask you, I feel that studying these texts outside my religion has helped me develop a spiritual cosmopolitanism that has given me comfort and fluency in many different religious settings, from Indonesia to Rome to Palestine to Brooklyn. But I somehow perceive amongst other Jews that I have failed my community, I have stepped out of the particularistic circle. I feel my broad immersion has only imbued me with this sort of slippage, I suppose, in my own strong conviction, I guess. And I'm thinking, yesterday Cardinal Taran was talking about Pope Francis's words that, successful dialogue begins with a deep conviction in your own position, and yet I feel that my conviction has broadened and universalized instead of particularized the more I've learned about other faiths. So I wanted to ask you, as a teacher in Qatar, when you're working with the Muslim students with reading Christian texts, how do you assist the strengthening of their particularistic conviction when they're successfully developing spiritual and linguistic fluency in other texts?
Well, I guess the main thing that we're aiming at is like what Mr. Shamali said, this submission to the truth, following the truth where we find it. So you gain, but then you lose something as well. I think with the students, one of the things that we try to do whenever we're treating the story of Abraham or the story of Noah or Joseph, where there are parallels, well, we try to explore what is the Bible teaching about Abraham or Joseph? What is the Quran teaching that's different? What is the Quran teaching that's the same? How is the whole approach going different? We're not asking people and we wouldn't want people to be abandoning the way that God has been working in them up to that time. But I think all of us, we do have this obligation to submit to the truth and follow it where it leads us. I've very, very often taught Islamic studies to Christians as well, and of course we have the same thing going on. What you're trying to preserve and where you're moving into new territory.
Dr. Schwein? No? One more question. We better have here then. Okay, just this next.
My question is about what you have said, and also Dr. Shamani, and also what you have said, Dr. Beja. It was very strong for me when you just what don't we see one another, brothers and sisters? Because we didn't see this like this. It was a profound experience, I tell you. Could you explain more? Also, Dr. Ahmed Hafiz said the same when he spoke about love. You know? A lot of time when I spoke with Muslims, we arrived to that we are also human beings. And I felt that was something very strong in Islam. Could you develop this and please?
Do you want to go first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I think this is a matter of theological reflection, but at the same time, a spiritual exercise. And I think these two have to go together. If someone, till end of his life, just wants to understand the concept of brotherhood or, universal love by theology, I don't think he would be successful unless he puts everything into practice, and God will, through practice, teach him more. So, if we get rid of our ego and try to rise to the level that we can see in the way that God looks at things, then this puts us in a very comfortable situation to love the people that God loves. Of course, we don't love everyone in the same way. There are people who are doing lots of good things. There are people who are harming other people. But even those who harm, we can love them so that we help them. If the prophets didn't love the people who had done mischief, how they were, guiding them? You have to love so that you can teach, you can improve. So, what is important is that instead of bringing God to our level, and we make God, a tribal God or, God of a sect, we rise to the level of God and we become a godly figure. If I become a godly figure, I have no problem in seeing and acknowledging beautiful things in other religions, other people, other cultures. Because I believe that I am in a position that nothing is harming me. But if I am kept with my, ego and my own, shell, then I have even difficulty with God loving someone else, let alone me loving someone else. So it's a very important, spiritual, I think, exercise aligned with theological reflection.
Thank you. The last word to
I don't want to be long, but it's part of, at least I would like to think that, isn't that, part of human nature? Isn't that part of our journey? Isn't that part of our challenge towards an organic growth within the human being? I think that's what makes us distinctive creatures, that we choose to go towards Allah or towards the truth, to evolve. While there is an ayah in the Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلسَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا قَالَتَا أَتَيْنَا طَائِعِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the universe, basically to the skies and earth, come either by force or by choice. They said, no, we come by choice. For human beings, it's by choice, definitely. That's the challenge of the free will. And we are, as psychology suggests, we are hardwired by our first environment. So it is a challenging task to submit to the truth. But I think that's part of our painful growth.
Thank you.
Approfitto di questa pausa che ci sarà mentre si cambia il tavolo, perché adesso incomincia l'ultimo appuntamento di questa giornata molto densa, ma credo anche molto interessante, per